Smart Life presents 6 simple techniques to turn perfectionism into success. Perfectionism is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it can motivate you to do things with the best quality, and alternatively, it can involve you with anxiety and reduce the speed of doing things. So how can we use the positive aspects of perfectionism and minimize its negative effects? What solutions are there to manage and sometimes control this feature? Today in A Smart Life we decide to talk about ways to manage perfectionism and reduce its harm. So if you are also involved with the characteristic of perfectionism, this article will be helpful to you. Why shouldn't we be proud of being a perfectionist? What do experts say about that? Matt Plummer, founder of the online training service Savana, has developed specific methods to increase the productivity of his employees. Plummer says, most of the time, perfectionism is rooted in fear and insecurity. Most perfectionists worry about not being able to do things accurately and not being known as conscientious people. This issue can harm their performance and job position. So when they get involved in the obsessions of perfectionism, they get the opposite result. If the described situation is similar to your situation, it is better to stop these obsessions. Overwhelming perfectionist behaviors is not that difficult. It is enough to make a strong decision to change a little. This means increasing the power rather than decreasing the standard level of the targets. Alice Boyce, clinical psychologist and author of Healthy Mind Tools and Anxiety Tools, says, the goal of managing perfectionistic behaviors is to reduce the pressure on yourself. Of course, making this change is easier said than done. But the reality is that if you want to be a successful person, you have to do some things imperfectly. Perfectionism management solutions. There are various solutions for managing perfectionistic behaviors and using its power, which you will learn about the most practical ones below. 1. See the target. 2. Redefine your criteria. 3. Make a list of priorities. 4. Break the cycle of rumination. 5. Have perspective and get help. 6. Monitor your progress. Okay, now let's take a look at how to successfully achieve the results of these 6 techniques. Number 1. See the goal. All perfectionists believe that being perfect is not easy. Plummer says, the desire for perfection really takes a lot of effort, and paying too much attention to detail is incredibly time-consuming. Of course, it is clear that you, as a perfectionist, do not want to have many goals, and you should not have them, but you should be able to recognize the costs and time you have the opportunity to use to achieve these existing goals. Ask yourself, am I really using my time wisely? Am I producing something or just wasting my time on details? Plummer recommends focusing on the effectiveness of your work. You can spend 3 hours delivering a complete program, but will it really have a tangible impact on customers or improve organizational processes? Boyce agrees with Plummer's opinion and says, change your mindset. You have to work less for some things, so focus on the most important parts of the work and don't waste time on unnecessary details. If you are doing something that others consider perfect, you should be able to recognize that you are on target and that there are no flaws in your process. You should know that when you get caught up in the details, your productivity drops drastically. Number 2. Redefine your standards. Managing perfectionism requires redefining your standards, says Plummer. For example, if you are going to prepare a report to present to the managers, prepare a preliminary version, show it to your colleague or your manager, and ask him to give his opinion about it. After getting feedback from friends, you may realize that this initial version is good enough and you don't need to spend more time. What you think will take you at least 10 hours may be completed in 5 hours. So don't be shy and get help from others. This is your first draft even if you need to keep working on it, Boyce says. Getting feedback on the first draft of your work will help you improve on the path of managing perfectionism. Remember that not every article you write is going to win a top author award, so you don't need to pay too much attention to detail. Try to just write and express the content as best as you can. Number 3. Have a checklist. Placing yourself in a perfectionist trap is like wandering on a never-ending journey, Plummer says. You start walking, you go on, but you don't know if you are close to your destination or not. Perfectionist people often do things in the same way and usually do not get satisfactory results. Plummer recommends that you prepare and set a checklist for all your work. For example, if you are going to work on a plan to increase customer satisfaction, prepare and write down a checklist for the same and write all the actions you need to do in it. With this, you can have a complete, extensive, and final view of your route. Make sure you only do everything correctly. Avoid paying too much attention to details and don't stray from your goal. Number 4. Break the cycle of rumination. Most perfectionists tend to ruminate. They like to think about a problem or an idea repeatedly without reaching a specific result. People who engage in rumination blame themselves more and forgive themselves less than others. This unhealthy behavior prevents the productivity and efficiency of people. Of course, don't forget that we shouldn't confuse rumination and problem-solving ability. Instead of getting lost in the tangled mass of negative thoughts and pessimistic mindsets, look for a way to break the chain of the vicious cycle of rumination. You can use the following methods for this. Specify your driving factors. The first step to overcoming this is to recognize your rumination, Boyce says. When you get involved in this cycle, note down what day, what time, where you are, and what people are around you. After a certain period of time, go through your notes and find the pattern of entering this circle. Then look for ways to avoid these factors and control them. Do not trust your first reaction. Be careful if you are talking about an event in the past. You may not fully investigate the situation, says Boyce. When we ruminate, we tend to focus more on unpleasant things, so it doesn't make sense to trust the reactions of a ruminating mind. Try to reach a confident perspective and give yourself the necessary opportunity and time to distance yourself from mental rumination before taking any action. Your mind may have lost all reality. Look for distraction. Sometimes distraction is useful for us. Do something that interests you, an activity that follows a repetition and also does not cause anxiety. For example, filling out the expense report table or counting visits. Perhaps 20 new posts on Instagram are included in this category. Spending just 10 minutes to do a simple task can easily break the chain of mental rumination and anxiety and save you. Think positively. Usually, mental rumination makes us avoid doing some things. Usually in this situation, we say to ourselves that if I can't do something perfectly, then there is no reason to start it. To deal with this feeling, we suggest that you go back a bit, think about times in the past when you started something new, and vividly recall and visualize the successes you achieved during those times. Remembering and visualizing things that have had successful results for you can create a new belief in your mind that you can start something without being 100% sure of success. This is exactly what it means to learn from past experiences and apply them to new tasks. Number 5. Have perspective and get help. It's helpful to talk to others about our desires. A person who can connect with you emotionally is the same person who can accompany you on the path of managing perfectionism. Be honest with him and tell him that you are making progress. Ask him to let you know whenever he notices that you have become obsessed with work and perfectionism in doing something. Be sure to tell him that sometimes you may get defensive and not listen to his advice, but you promise to think about what he says. Rest assured that making the commitment to free yourself from the harms of perfectionism can pay off. Number 6. Monitor your progress. In the process of improving your perfectionistic behaviors, be sure to note the changes and review them weekly to see your progress clearly and consciously. Examine your psychological reactions and ask yourself, have I given up on doing something this week because of fear of something going wrong? Were there things that did not require perfectionist obsessions? 100% sure of the result, have I tried to do something? The purpose of doing this is to learn when perfectionistic behaviors have a positive effect and when they don't. Don't forget that you are not going to make a radical change, but rather to modify your personality and pursue more realistic goals. The principles you must remember to get rid of negative perfectionism. A list of do's and don'ts can help you manage harmful perfectionism behaviors more easily. In this section, we have prepared a short list of do's and don'ts for you. Do these things. To-do list. Identify and determine the point of diminishing returns when you want to do something completely. Sometimes only reaching a goal is the most important thing. Think about your progress. Write a list of times when you have been able to successfully control perfectionistic obsessions and refer to it when necessary. Rewrite and revise your standards. Usually, what you write or say is not meant to be absolute, it should only help you achieve your goal. Do not do these things. Do not list. To solve a problem, stop ruminating. When you find your mind wandering aimlessly, find a distraction to stop the cycle of rumination. Make a checklist. With the help of a list of your essential and important responsibilities and tasks, as well as setting measurable goals, avoid paying too much attention to unnecessary details. Ask a friend, colleague, or a family member to accompany you on this path. Tell this trusted person about your goal and vision and ask him to support you on this path. Last words. Perfectionism is not always bad. If we know where its positive points are and we can use them to overcome the negative parts of this trait, we can enjoy being a perfectionist. To use the good points of this characteristic, it is necessary to avoid doing things like focusing too much on unimportant details and use it to achieve a better area of our goals. If you think you are also a perfectionist and suffer from this trait, ask a trusted friend to support you in managing your perfectionist behaviors. Thanks for watching. Take care, my friend.